Welcome to Bregenz Bahnhof, located in Vorarlberg, the westernmost state of Austria. The original station began construction in 1870, although this was demolished 30 years ago in 1989, before the station was rebuilt 500 meters west of the original location. Looks like the workers haven't finished placing the route maps. Let's place a missing one while you wait. There are more route tasks to discover. Make sure to apply more route maps, fix snow height poles, and collect chocolate bars and Tyrolean hats. Your colleague, David Meyerhofer, would like to speak to you. Take a seat. The train is just about to leave. The Vorarlberg Railway was first proposed by railway entrepreneur Karl Ganal in 1847 when he recognized the necessity for a railway in the area. He would go on to pay for much of the preliminary work out of his own pocket. Construction began in 1870 and met many delays due to needing approval from all the neighboring states in the area. Finally, in 1872, public services began between Bludenz and Lochau. Shortly after, in 1873, connections to the wider Austrian railway network were completed, and services between Zurich in Switzerland and Munich in Germany would use this line. In 1954, electrification work on the line was completed, although electric trains couldn't pass into the German rail network. This meant passengers and international services to Germany had to change to a diesel service in Lindau. Take the train to Austria. Spanning cross-border, the busy Vorarlberg S-Bahn line shuttles from quaint German island life to the foothills of the Austrian Alps. All new and bustling ÖBB traffic awaits in Train Sim World.
In this training module, you will be learning to operate the Rotem commuter car, manufactured by Hyundai Rotem. During this brief introduction, you will be taken through the critical driving controls and performing passenger operations. When you're ready to begin, climb aboard. Sit in the engineer's seat. You'll now go through the steps needed to take over this train. You will need to set the generator field switch. This needs to be enabled for the locomotive to generate power. Switch the front headlights on. Regardless of the time of day or weather, all locomotives must have their... You'll need to set the automatic brake cutout to cut in to allow the braking to be controlled from this cab. Okay, it's time to depart. Close the passenger doors. The master controller controls both the throttle and dynamic brakes. Dynamic brakes use the locomotive's electric traction motors to generate resistance, to reduce the wear of the brake pads. The automatic brakes are controlled with their own handle, but will blend the dynamic brakes and air brakes. The air brakes will apply braking force to every car in this formation. Now, release the brakes. Coasting is a method used to efficiently maintain speed and reduce motor stress and maintenance requirements. Keeping to speed limits is important. If you begin overspeeding, slow the train using the master controller's dynamic brake range. The Rotom commuter cars were introduced in 2010. To date, Metrolink has received 117 of them. As part of Metrolink's commitment to passenger safety, these cars incorporate the latest CEM technology. This incorporates redesigned seats, tables, and special energy-absorbing zones at the end of each car. Metrolink was the first rail operator in the U.S. to incorporate CEM in passenger trains. Cab cars like this one allow a locomotive to be operated remotely from the other end of the formation, preventing the need for runarounds or additional locomotives. You are approaching the station. Begin applying a small amount of braking force using the automatic brake to bring the train to a gentle stop. Nice job! The train has safely come to a stop. You can now begin loading. Good work. That concludes all the basics of operating this train.
In this training module, you will be taken through the operation of a BR-185.2 electric locomotive. During this brief introduction, you will cover the critical driving controls and freight operations. When you're ready, climb aboard to get started. Take a seat in the driver's position. This is where you will be spending most of your time. For this introduction, you will be driving the locomotive a short distance and coupling to a short freight train. To activate the control desk, insert the reverser handle. Set the reverser. This controls the direction of travel. Set the headlights to let others around us know this locomotive is operational. the locomotive is now ready to go. Use the throttle to apply some power to get moving. Coasting is a method used to efficiently maintain speed and reduce motor stress. Keeping to speed limits is important. If you begin overspeeding, apply a small amount of braking force using the train brake. This train is part of the Bombardier Tracks family, a modular platform of diesel and electric locomotives that come in both passenger and freight variations. More than 1,800 locomotives of this family have been sold throughout Europe and are now in use in 17 different countries. The BR-185.2, part of the Trax 2 family, is known for the noticeable scale it plays when accelerating from 0 to 16 km per hour. This locomotive can produce 5,600 kilowatts and has a maximum operational speed of 140 km per hour. The freight wagons are behind you. Change direction with the reverser, then change the junction indicated, either by walking over to it or using the map.
Störung. Störung.
The junction is correctly aligned, and you can now couple up to the freight. Come to a stop once your locomotive gently touches the wagons. You can couple and uncouple from either an external camera or on foot. Let's connect the formation using the external camera. Now connect the locomotive to the freight. Nice work! Change direction with the reverser and move the train forward into the indicated siding. You can couple and uncouple from either an external camera or on foot. Uncouple from the wagons on foot this time. That's it for this introduction. Well done.
In this training module, you're going to learn to drive a diesel-electric locomotive and how the controls differ from a multiple unit. This is a BR Class 66 diesel-electric locomotive, typically used for freight operations in the United Kingdom. The reverser sets the direction between forwards and backwards. There are 3 types of brakes in this locomotive, and which one you use will depend on the situation. We'll learn more about the different brake types in future training modules. The throttle controls how fast the train accelerates. We want to move the train forwards, so move the reverser in that direction. Keep the brake control and release until you can see the brake pipe control needles are reading 5 bar, pointing upwards. This will release the brakes fully. Watch the brake cylinder, or BC gauge, to see it gradually reduce to 0, which tells you that the brakes are now fully released. Apply some throttle to get the train moving. As you apply power, notice the amp bar rising. This is the amount of power being fed into the traction motors. Now that you've reached your target speed, you can move the throttle control back to 0. The train will then coast on level ground, and the train will only slow down very gradually. Brakes in this locomotive are lapped. Rather than directly selecting the brake force with a handle, you use the brake control to add or release braking force. Braking force will be held until you release it, as you did before setting off. Bring this train to a complete stop by holding the brake control in the apply state until you see the brake pipe control needle in the center of your cab desk showing about 4 bar. The amount of braking you'll need to apply also varies depending on whether you're going uphill or downhill, and how heavy your train is. Stopping a train is one of the biggest challenges of controlling them, particularly stopping them in the right place. That concludes this module. Restart the module to learn the steps again, or move on to the next module.
Welcome to LA Union Station, located in Los Angeles, California. Approved in 1926 and opened in 1939, LA Union Station was designed to consolidate rail services from Union Pacific, Santa Fe, and Southern Pacific into one station owned by the city. There's a missing route map over there. Fix that while you're here. There are many more route tasks to discover. Make sure to apply the route maps, put up the anniversary banners, hang up the hats, and visit the hot dog stands. Clark Smith, your shift supervisor, would like to speak with you. The Antelope Valley Line runs for over 70 miles from the bustling heart of LA to Lancaster, the western tip of the Mojave Desert. The railroad along the Santa Clara River originally opened in 1876 and was operated by Southern Pacific as a connection to the national rail network. In 1979, due to falling demand, this line ceased operation. In 1990, the Los Angeles County Transportation Commission purchased the right-of-way from Southern Pacific. Passenger services as far as Santa Clarita began operation in 1992. When the Northridge earthquake hit in 1994, plans to extend the line north to Antelope Valley were expedited by over 10 years to aid relief efforts. U.S. Navy Seabees and a legion of workers from the LA County Public Works Department constructed stations in just a few days, rather than the 3 to 6 months they usually take. Passenger services started on this extension less than a week after the earthquake. Today, this important commuter line carries over 5,700 people in and out of LA each day. Run to the hills and experience the hefty power of modern American diesel. Tackle the tough terrain of Californian canyons with the Antelope Valley Line, between the sprawling Los Angeles cityscape and the desert bushes of Lancaster in almighty Metrolink traction. West Coast rails are yours to explore in Train Sim World, Antelope Valley Line.